what's up? My name is Chase Reeves and I'm a minimal traveler, okay? I professionally I literally professionally minimally travel at this point, which is hilarious. I'll tell you about that at another time. But this video is about how do we get better at minimally traveling, okay? How do we get travel to feel like less of a drag? Right? Because if you're thinking about, I really want to think about that beach in Thailand, but all I can see is like 18 hours of flights and dealing with the kids, and you know what I mean? I know what I mean. That's what I think of travel. That's the thing that I've been caring the most about. It's like, what is it going to be like to get there? Because once I get there, I can get into life. It's so dope to go to another place and just get into the rhythm of life there. You learn so much. It's so sick, but it's also a fucking hassle. Costs a bunch of money, you gotta get there, you gotta like deal with all the other people getting on the plane who don't know how to take, they just like sit and wait until their boarding row is called. So I've got a handful of tips, tricks, hacks for you in this video, but here's the deal. We're gonna talk about some deep stuff too, because this is why I like traveling so much. You might not know if we're gonna land the plane, if we're gonna connect the dots, but that's just how I talk, okay? I just like to go on little rambles, and I find that you might like it. You might totally hate it too. It's like, if you're not liking this right now, you're really not gonna like what the rest of the video is like. But I do wanna say that there are some things in here that are gonna be helpful for you. Like from my point of view. I've been doing this professionally for a while now. And professionally is in quotes there. And there are things that make you really good at this and that can make travel go very, very smooth in comparison to the horrors that it can also be, right? But a lot of that is actually gonna be you getting smarter about how you do it, right? Not something that somebody else can teach you. But I do have a few things I can teach, which I'm going to do. But we're also gonna talk about some other stuff that's gonna help us, like how do we be figuring out our way of traveling? Because travel is this amazing metaphor for life, right? It's like we go on trips. You know what I mean? Life is a trip, man. It is a journey. That's why, the hottest meme of the last few hundred years, or last 50 years, is this developing meme around it's the journey, not the destination. Right? If you can get that, like you can deal with a lot of stuff in life. You can really enjoy life, right? But that's a deep emotional sort of state. It's a very spiritual enterprise. So just a little caveat, we're gonna get a little rambly in some of these parts. I think you might find that it connects, but you also, I do not blame you at all if you're just like, nope, this is not for me. But if you're interested in travel, if you're interested in how do we travel more minimally and how do we make travel go smooth and how do I get more of that just fucking that freshness in my life, like how do I get a little more of the wind to be blowing through the sort of open country of my soul? Well, then let's talk about it. Hey, what's up guys? I get this question a lot about minimal travel, okay? I've been minimally traveling for a while and I love talking about it. I love one bag travel when you learn to just carry a carry-on bag and travel with just that. And it's just one, it's just on your back. For a while it was big ones that go in the overhead compartment, and now like my favorite way to travel when it's like just me and we're really traveling is a bag that fits under the seat in front of me. It just changes everything about modern airline travel stuff, right? Because you can be the last person on the plane. It's a really big deal. You can be the last person on the plane. You know that thing where people line up to get onto the fucking plane and it's just like you're standing there and it's horrible. It's just airline travel. It's amazing. It's like, whoa, we're out here with a bunch of different people from me, which is part of why I love travel so much. Right? Why would I be interested in minimal travel? Why would you be learning about minimally traveling? Because it actually is an important thing, travel. It knocks the barnacles off. When you get out there and you see all the different people, all the different ways of lives, all the different regions and landscapes, all the different things that this planet has been doing naturally, not to mention, food and if you're single, people of the opposite sex, or people of the same sex, or like whatever it is that you're interested in people. I traveled one time as a single person, and I met my wife. I met the lady who became my wife. So I didn't really like experience all that free love out there, which is crazy to think about, that just traveling, like it's a perfect example. I actually wasn't even thinking about that when I started this video, but the fact that I was traveling and I met my wife, it was the one like really big trip I've taken. I basically haven't taken huge trips after. I mean, I have been living on the road for more than a year now with my family, so that's my second big trip. But the first time I take a big old trip, it was like my after college, like let's go, I think it was like in Webster's dictionary, it's like college, like university. It's like once you graduate, you have to go travel Europe. You have to backpack Europe. It was just this thing that like, it was like cliche. I just had heard about it so much, and it had already been like played out. So I had a buddy who was up for it, and we just went out and traveled around Europe. That's a cool story. Maybe I'll tell it another time. I don't want to bore us with the details of my life, because the thing is, you're interested in minimal travel. Why? Because it'll seriously upgrade your life when you know how to travel well, okay? So the big thing I want you to think about is, what is that? The big thing I want you to think about, I don't know. It's just, you have a philosophy of carry. Everybody has a philosophy of carry. It's such a silly thing to talk about a philosophy of carry. But in modern life, it's like, it actually is, all of us have one. It's like religion, like we all actually have religion. Like when you get put into extreme situations, you realize there's this impulse beyond yourself. It's just like, I need help from something. And we all know that our death is coming towards us, like at some speed, like it's a definite thing it's gonna happen in our lives. We're gonna die. Did you know that? Are you aware? Are you aware of that? Because obviously we all know it, but we don't really think about it all that. And most of our life is trying not to think about it. But why does this relate to travel? Because do you know what the Russians call an orgasm? They call it a little death. We were just talking about death. This very serious thing that's coming for all of us. Like as we speak, I'm getting ready to go and bury my grandfather, which is crazy. When you lose the elders in your lineage. And I'm no stranger to death, because actually we lost a child. We had a full-term stillbirth in between our two kids. So my son is 10, my Etnie is 2, and then Rowan was right in the middle there. And a full-term stillbirth is fucked up, you guys. It's so crazy. It was my first experience with grief. Hardcore grief. Why do I keep taking this video down into the darkest depths? It does relate. Like I can absolutely relate this, because travel is like an orgasm to the Russians. It's like a little death, okay? What we do when we explore and we have fun, according to the Russians, is it's this kind of ecstasy of dying. I know I'm taking the orgasms a little too far, but think about it. The orgasm is basically one of the sickest forms of travel that we have, right? I mean, it's not really travel, it's straight up pleasure, right? And if you could have that whenever you wanted, you'd do that more often. That's why we get addicted to drugs and sex and pornography and food. Food makes us feel good, right? And so there's certain kinds of food, very fatty, rich, salt, got the umami, some sweetness in there, potato chips. Anything that like Frito-Lay's makes is engineered to give you the most amount of pleasure, sensory pleasure, in your central nervous system. Okay, God damn, why are we taking this off in such different directions? But if you want to learn how to travel, you need to think about your philosophy of carry. A philosophy is something that is like the structure, the framework of how you think about the world and life. It's not just like Plato and Aristotle, or like Bertrand Russell and Sam Harris. It's also all of us. I mean, you actually have a philosophy of life. That's what I mean. The death that is yours is coming for for you. Your thought about your own death is your philosophy of life, right? So we all actually are doing this philosophy thing about how we carry too. This might sound silly, but in comparison to, losing my son Rowan, which is something that shifted my entire emotional landscape, right? I never felt the depth of those feelings. And in feeling them, I realized how like my species I am, how like my tribe I am. I finally almost felt like this death grief thing is what all of us are going to experience when we lose the people that have supported us in our life, right? This never going to text you again thing. And some of you are probably like, this is hitting nerves, It's a really, really big feeling. It's a really big feeling. And when you go through life sort of numb and bouncing around from one thing to the next and not really knowing what you're supposed to be doing and just like making money and starting businesses, I guess, and trying to be creative, but never feeling creative enough, trying to do productive things, but never really being productive enough, being bad at all the jobs that I had because I was just bored and I couldn't fucking care about any of it. Just kind of going through life like a pinball machine, just bouncing off stuff and like sort of really indifferent about things, right? And then you experience something like grief, like a real grief. And you don't have to lose a child to feel real grief. In fact, we'll all feel it at some point, right? And that's what felt so connecting to me about being human, right? And this is why I like to travel. I think this is what we think about when we think about travel. When you think deeply, when you think deeply about things, because it's like a drug. It's just like a drug. I have resources that I put together on cannabis, conscious cannabis use, because I think cannabis is a very interesting tool for self-exploration, right? But it can also take you down into like, you're just like, why do I only wear sweatpants these days? I used to be fun. It really does, because it can affect your life, how you think about your life. And things like travel and cannabis and Lay's potato chips help you think about your life in certain kinds of ways. The biggest thing that'll change how you think about your life is your breathing, for example, right? For instance, we actually get more oxygen through our nose. We're designed effectively, like we've designed ourselves to be breathing through our nose. You get so much more oxygen uptake, and it has all these other physiological effects in the body, how you breathe. It matters a bunch. And if you could just like practice some breathing stuff and get kind of stoned on your own breath, one good trick is breathe in for 7 seconds, breathe out for 7 seconds. You're just counting that in your head. Do that for, a minute or two, and everything starts going down. Your blood pressure, your heart rate, things like this. You do that for 5, 7, 10 minutes, and your like brain waves are like going into like alpha states or something like that. You just become very fucking peaceful. Your parasympathetic nervous system, something science. So when you think about how you carry your things to and fro on a daily basis, when you think about how you want to travel because you've experienced how shitty it can be when you're traveling and you're not set up well, or like you can just feel like travel, it's just kind of a hassle to me. I don't like, whenever I'd like to think about getting away, but all I think of is the pain of the airport, the pain of waking up early and getting the Uber or whatever and taking all the bags. And is there a better way? Yeah, there is, depending on how minimal you already are packing. But if you go minimal, like 1 bag per person, my whole family, everybody gets 1 bag. That's it. And we do just fine, because you can learn to live with less. And that's related to that, just that whole big, deep, weird existential situation that I was relaying to us that involves our death, the death of the people who have supported us and the people that we love, the little death of pleasure and the orgasm, which I never really connected those dots very well. I admit that, but there is a connection. There, maybe in a future video, I'll try to develop that, because I just like talking about orgasm so much. How you think about life is how you think about travel. And the converse is true. How you think about travel is how you think about life. okay? So how we're thinking about travel, let's examine it a little bit. Let's explore it a little bit, okay? Let's find things that maybe we are pretending are true, but they're really not true. That's what we call possibility. When you don't feel boxed in, when you don't feel painted into a corner, when you have creative agency, you're seeing potential in the world, possibility. It's like a big deal. And how we carry our stuff can actually be like possibility inducing or supporting, or it can be, you know, just totally unconscious and actually positivity like is going down now. Like now I can't even be positive about my situation, which, you know, that's a skill. Did you know that? There's a skill. You can just learn how to be positive about your situation. You can just, I'm going to practice being positive about this. And then you can like try to make changes to your situation from a positive point of view instead of a negative one. It's legit, it's good science. Worthy of your own experimentation because you're a goddamn scientist, man. You are the one inside that meat suit right there. And this is your life, okay? This is all happening to you, okay? And we're all interested in you, okay? That doesn't mean you're gonna be a famous, successful YouTuber or like a pop star or the world's greatest, insert your dream here. It doesn't mean any of that. That's how you're comparing yourself to other people trying to locate yourself. I'm talking about the one that's already in there. The one that's already there and active. Not the one who's, not like the thing you're presenting or figuring out how to do or learning how to become. And you're the one who has to pack your bags. You're the one who has to decide how much of, like how many pairs of pants you need for this trip. Do you need to bring this extra pair of shoes? It'd be lighter without it. Okay, so here's the big thing about minimal travel. Part of it is related to minimal lifestyle, okay? And the best way I know to get into that is simple. 2 simple tricks. 1, capsule wardrobe that. It's a hard thing to re-engage your life with, like to try to like totally redo your life with a new closet. So here's the trick. The second part is let's just Marie Kondo this shit. Let's put everything in a pile. Let's pull out the stuff. Does it spark joy? If it doesn't, just fold it up and put it somewhere like in a big 55-gallon trash bag, like those big heavy-duty contractor ones, okay? Get them at Home Depot or something. We're not gonna throw away our clothes. We're not gonna donate them or anything like that. We're just gonna put them away for like 30 days. It's all you need to try to do. Just do that. That is actually the single biggest way for you to upgrade your minimal travel game, because when you're thinking minimally about life, what happens is less of your life changes when you travel, depending on if you work for yourself or not. I work for myself. I talk to a lot of people who do, and a lot of people who want to, right? Who are just like, what the fuck are we gonna do? What are these jobs all about? Like, who are these companies? Who can we trust? Like, what's a good job for me? Which way should I go? Some people have a lot of existential dread about that. I always did. So I had to like get independent, and that was just like taking on way more existential dread than just, like, it's like not for the faint of heart. But those are 2 simple tricks, okay? That like what's really just one thing. Let's capsule wardrobe your actual closet for some short amount of time by putting the things we're not using into just big contractor plastic bags. Here's the deal. My hunch is, if you're anything like me, you'll never go back and see those. You'll come bump into them at some point. Go put them in the attic. Put them out of the way, like 30 days. You don't want to bump into it for 30 days. No, it has to be totally gone, right? Somewhere that you're not going to see. And what I found is that I bumped into it like 12 months later and was like, oh my God, this is like going shopping. I didn't get rid of any of the clothes. I go through every now and again and pull out something and like I'll put something else back. Because that's the thing. If you just decide to have a certain number of things, this is kind of, this is a little at next level. If you decide to have a certain number of things, then it helps you figure out how to cull it down. All right, I should end this video now. But that is the biggest trick there is for, taking your minimal travel to the next next level. And all that stuff about life and death and mediocrity for some reason comes to mind. Life and death and just mediocrity, just the normalness and of our very fucking existence. That stuff plays such a big role in travel. And in fact, it's the only thing that's why I'm interested in travels, because it helps me relate myself to that stuff, right? Which is the spiritual exploration. It is the inner journey. It is the harmony between the inner and the outer, okay? And that's really big deal stuff. I sound like fucking Jason Bateman. You know what? That's really big deal stuff. All right, I hope you enjoyed that little chat of ours. I'll be here at this YouTube channel, so you can subscribe if you like it. Also, let's take this relationship to the next level. Let's go to Instagram and see if I can wow you with my Instagram stories, which right now are just songs that I think are amazing. Like I put on the headphones and I travel.